Hello, welcome to another video. Today, we'll be taking a look at the Finnish Winter War. We'll see who was involved and what their ambitions were. We'll see how it came to the war, so what led up to the war, what were the after-war changes. We'll look at some literature about the war, and last but not least, some quotes about the war. First of all, who was involved and what ambitions did they have? Well, first of all, the participants were of course Finland and the Soviet Union. Finland is and was a small Nordic country striving to maintain its independence. The Soviet Union aimed to expand its territory and secure a border against potential threats. The ambitions. The Soviet Union sought territorial concessions from Finland to secure Leningrad and increase strategic depth against possible invasions. Finland, on the other hand, aimed to preserve its sovereignty, territorial integrity, and democratic governance against Soviet expansion. So, how did it come to the war? Well, there were some pre-war tensions. After the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact in 1939, Finland was placed within the Soviet sphere of influence. The Soviet Union demanded territorial adjustments from Finland, including the cession of parts of Karelia and other strategic areas. Finland's refusal to cede territory or submit to Soviet demands led to escalate tensions. The outbreak. Well, there was a Soviet ultimatum. The USSR issued an ultimatum for territorial concessions, which Finland rejected. Then there was a shelling incident. On November 26, 1939, the Soviet Union alleged Finnish shelling, using this as a pretext to invade. Now the actual invasion. On November 30th, 1939, the Soviet forces invaded Finland, starting the Winter War. Now let's look at some after-war changes. Well, there was a Treaty of Moscow in March of 1940. Finland ceded about 10% of its territory, including parts of Karelia, Salla, and Petsamo, to the Soviet Union. Over 400,000 Finns were displaced from these areas. Military and political consequences. Well, first of all, Finland retained its independence, which was a huge success, but had to release the Hanko Peninsula to the Soviet Union for 30 years. The Soviet Union's initial military performance was criticized, leading to reform in its armed forces. Finland aligned more closely with Germany for support against potential future Soviet aggression, leading to its involvement in the Continuation War. Now, let's look at some literature. Well, we have some key works. First of all, the Winter War, the Russo-Finnish conflict, 1930 to 1940, by William R. Trotter. It offers a detailed historical account of the war, focusing on military and political aspects. Next up is The White Death, the epic of the Soviet-Finnish Winter War, by Alan F. Chu. It discusses the war's impact on soldiers and civilians and its strategic significance. Last but not least is A Frozen Hell, the Russo-Finnish Winter War of 1939 to 1940, by William R. Trotter. It chronicles the harsh conditions and the resilience of Finnish forces. Now we have some Finnish perspectives. First of all, from an unknown soldier by Väinö Linna. Although primarily about the Continuation War, this novel offers insight into the Finnish wartime experience. The last book from the Finnish perspective is With Finland in War and Peace, by Alpo Juntunen. It provides a Finnish perspective on the nation's wartime and post-war resilience. Now, last of all, let's look at some quotes about the war. First of all, we have Field Marshal Carl Gustaf Emil Mannerheim, from Finland of course. The Finnish people have demonstrated that it has the will to live free. Though fighting against overwhelming odds, the sacrifices of our soldiers will not be forgotten. Next up is a quote from Winston Churchill, at that time the UK Prime Minister. Only Finland, superb, nay, sublime, in the jaws of peril, Finland shows what free men can do. Next up is Joseph Stalin, of course at that time Soviet leader. This war has proved the power of our socialist state and its army, but it has also shown that our military equipment and readiness must be modernized to avoid such difficulties in the future. The last quote I have to offer is from Erik Heinrichs, a Finnish general. He says, "In the end, it is the spirit of a nation that matters more than its physical resources. We have shown that determination and unity can withstand even the harshest trials." Thank you for listening.